Let's not stand on ceremony, mate. Let's start the show.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Let's not stand on ceremony, mate. Let's start the show.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Let's not stand on ceremony, mate. Let's start the show.
Always something.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Let's not stand on ceremony.
What are you trying to play DJ over there? What are you doing?
I'll admit, it actually sounded like a pretty good remix for a second or two there. No, I spent all this time getting everything ready and making sure our first live stream, which thank you for joining everybody, was ready to go. It's the first time we're doing this ourselves.
How's that looking?
I had YouTube up in the background to make sure the stream was going right. Didn't mute YouTube.
Oh.
So about halfway through the stream, but at least we know it's working. So yeah, that remix kind of gave me some ideas for the future. But
Oh man.
yeah.
Let's see if it's working. Oh shit, it is
It
working.
appears to be. I see our live dashboard is up. We're on there talking. We're about a couple seconds behind, but we look to be good to go, and we are now on the first of what will be infinitely better, I'm sure, live streams to move forward. But hey, we did this before with a show we used to do called Smash Cut, and I'll be honest, we're both on screen. We can hear each other. It's streaming.
Yeah.
Pretty damn
I
good.
always say,
Given our track record.
you know, for all the TV that we do, I still hate being on camera.
Yeah, it's not
most of the
something you ever get used to. I'd be okay if it wasn't.
I'm
if I
used
wasn't
to it.
producing.
I'm used to it. I just, sometimes I hate it more than others. Right now is one of those times where I hate it because we do the show on Sundays. Sunday's not on my shave schedule.
No.
So I'm not going to shave on Sunday in preparation for the show. So I'm always going to be on here looking like I've got my COVID beard on, and it's because I do.
Well, I mean, it is Sunday. I've got my my dirty sweatshirt on. Before we went live, I explained to Travis why I'm using this virtual background, which is not exactly perfect.
I still need to figure out why I can't get backgrounds up. It's really bugging me.
But if you look over here, you can kind of see all the crap that's laying around my room in here that I didn't in my office that I didn't bother cleaning up. So, like I said, it's going to be the first of what will be infinitely more professional and better streams, and the first of many different shows we'll be doing for you guys like this. We're hoping to get it to a daily update or weekly update type thing. We're going to be streaming games and talking movies and shows as often as we can, utilizing this live stream as much as we can so we can get everything right to the people out there. So we should probably do the intro though. You want to let everybody know who we are?
People who we are. I know last week we told people who we are, but do you want to tell people who we are again, just in case?
Yeah, that'd be good. Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
See, okay. If you should tune in last week to see the confusion on who starts the show, but I'm John. That's Travis over there. We are the Punch Drunk Critics. You guys check us out every day. Hopefully, if you're catching the stream, that's where you came from, or hopefully we're actually getting new subscribers. But at punchdrunkcritics.com, we're two DC area film critics. We've been doing this for quite a long time, and we just like to bullshit about movies. So
that's pretty much it. Yeah. So did you say who I was?
Yeah. So that's Travis Hobson right there. First I went.
Sorry,
I realized you were on the other side. So
I wasn't paying attention.
You'll find that's normal.
It is somewhat normal, sadly. No, yeah. So we are the Punch Drunk Critics. We've been around for more than a decade at punchdrunkcritics.com. We talk movies, TV, a little bit of everything. Me, I'm a little bit into a lot of different things: wrestling, hip hop, comic books, games, all that kind of stuff. You can see the collection of action figures, pops behind me. John's got a family, so he's not really into much of anything anymore.
Well, thankfully, I am finally getting my foot back in games because my kids they're at this perfect age where they're old enough to want to hold the controller and play with it, but not so old that they don't realize their controller doesn't do anything yet. So I just give them both the old controllers with no batteries. They sit next to me. We play games for hours sometimes. We're into Tekken 7 right now.
Really?
Yeah, we were playing Shadow of Mordor for a lot, and then for a long time, and then my son had
yeah,
nightmare.
okay, but Shadows of Mordor, that's nothing. But Tekken 7's a real game. You got your kids playing Tekken 7?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, no, again, they're not playing; they're watching me play. But Tekken was my jam.
I'm just as surprised that you're playing Tekken 7. That's a real game.
Well, then you don't know me at all.
Real people playing that game, man.
I came up with Tekken. Martial law was always my go-to, and then I found Hwarang, and he was my go-to. You seem like an Eddie Gordo type dude.
That's a game for real players, man. That's not a casual game. You need to watch out, man. I know you don't play it online though.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just started playing online, so I just picked it up like probably a week ago. I started getting the old games. I got some of the old Resident Evils, and I started playing Tekken.
So, in other words, you're getting trashed online.
No, dude, because all the moves are the same. I pick up Hwarang, and I'm just triple kicking and sloppy punching. It's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. I'm back into it. So that sounds like a challenge for maybe one of our first streams that I can whoop Travis's ass on live internet streams for you guys to see.
On Tekken?
Yeah.
You know, I don't play Tekken. Tekken's not one of my games. I bet you I could still handle
okay.
you.
There you've had it. The first tournament of champions.
I haven't played Tekken in years. It's not one of my games. It's one of those games I prefer to watch people play because it was never my strong suit. Street Fighter, the Marvel vs. Capcom games are my strong suit. But yeah, we can.
I got Marvel vs. Capcom too. I just haven't played it that much. I got really into Injustice for a while. I was always a Mortal Kombat guy.
Yeah, I can't get into the Mortal Kombat games. But let's not talk too much about video games here, though, unless you want to play some Streets of Rage later. But that's a different story. We are here to talk about movies, and this is another week. You know, we talked about this a little bit last week, but there's been it's movies are still coming out just as much as ever before. It's just different now. It's just we're watching more stuff on. It's still enough to keep my ass busy. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot going on, and there's a lot of stuff that came out this week. I know you saw an IFC Midnight film that I don't know much about called The Wretched.
Yeah, I love those guys. IFC Midnight, that is.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're. I mean, we'll talk about The Wretched a little bit more whenever we get to that point. But IFC Midnight is just one of these brands that came out and is super niche, and they know exactly what. Like, they are Blumhouse for the hardcore genre fan a lot of the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the stuff they put out is subpar, but the way Blumhouse understands horror for a blockbuster level, how to make those micro-budget movies and have blockbuster appeal, IFC Midnight knows how to do that with that. So
right.
I'm a fan.
That's good, man. I saw probably one of the more anticipated movies of the year for some people. Which was the Jesus Rolls, which is the Big Lebowski spinoff,
right? That
John Turturro did. I think he did it last year. I think it was at Cannes, and it's based on the French movie. And I think 1974 French movie, which is called Going Places. I can't pronounce the French translation, but it's Going Places.
Going Places.
Yeah, that's it. And, they're going places, and if you've ever seen it, it's sort of like a degenerate comedy. Which, if you know what those are, it's one of those movies that deliberately pushes boundaries, a lot of sexual situations, and it's based on that, and it keeps a lot of that intact because this is a really sort of raunchy movie.
So this isn't just a spin-off of Big Lebowski. This is something using those characters, but all together new.
It's a spin-off of Lebowski, and it's got Turturro back as Jesus Quintana. And so you're like, so if you're a Lebowski fan, you're like, oh, damn, I want to see this. In fact, I got more questions about this week and stuff in a long time for people wanting to know about this movie. And they gave Turturro their blessing to make the movie.
Right.
But they don't. But it's telling that they're not even listed on it as like an exec producer.
Right.
Like they're nothing. They have nothing to do with it. And basically, it has Quintana getting released out of prison. Like, the whole thing in Big Lebowski is that he's a pedophile, right? That's his thing. He's a pedophile, bowling obsessed. He's great at bowling, but he's also a pedophile. They brushed that aside in the very beginning of this movie and basically write that off like it was a mistake. And it's like, oh, okay. But he gets out of jail and he's a horn dog, and he's going around with his buddy played by Bobby Cannavale and Audrey Tautou, who played Amelie. Everybody knows who Audrey Tautou is. I love her, as their promiscuous friend who has never had an orgasm. So you can guess that's one of the big goals of the movie is to get her to have an orgasm. These guys plow her through the entire movie trying to make her have an orgasm. I mean, that's basically what this thing is.
That's not what I would have thought, but all right.
It's a road trip movie, and they have a lot of sex in order to make her have an orgasm. And of course, she never does, at least not to them. She does eventually at some point in the movie, but I won't tell you who does it. It's one of the celebrity guest stars in the film, which there are a lot.
Really?
Christopher Walken, Susan Sarandon, Pete Davidson, J.B. Smoove, a lot of people,
Davidson
man.
Is
so
trying hard to get into Hollywood, man. He keeps popping up in like
who?
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson is in Hollywood. He's got the Judd Apatow movie coming up.
No, I know. I mean, what I mean is he's been trying hard for a while to make the Saturday Night Live transition. Like he's going at it hard. He's not letting it occur naturally.
He's past it. He's past that point.
He's been
past that point ever since he made the Big Adolescence. He's been past
But that was a month ago. I'm saying he was always
that movie was what the highest selling movie at Sundance.
Really?
Largely because of him. So, in fact, only because of him. So he's beyond SNL. He's more than ready to move on from that joint. But yeah, this movie to me it's a whole lot of nothing. I was expecting it to be somewhat smart. At least it's not though. It's really just basic sex humor, and I was expecting a lot more. And it's also kind of, I don't know, the treatment of women in this movie is really, really lousy. Really lousy.
It sounds like American Pie for middle-aged people or something like that.
Susan Sarandon's character too, man, is just, she plays a prisoner who just got let out of an ex-con just got let out of prison, and the guys take her in and wine and dine her, and then they, nail her too, and it's just like, it's like, okay, well, I mean, I guess it's like there might be something provocative and interesting in the idea of Bobby Cannavale and John Turturro running a train on Susan Sarandon, I guess, right? Like just from like a provocateur standpoint, there's something interesting in that, but the movie doesn't.
The more interesting thing about that is that John Turturro
doesn't really do much. He doesn't really do much with it. It's not clever. It's not funny.
What was the movie he did a few years back? It might have been more than a few years, maybe 5 years. So maybe it doesn't line up as well. But he did a movie with Sofia Vergara and Sharon Stone. He was a gigolo, and it was just John Turturro hooking up with women that he could not have a chance to hook up with.
Yeah. Man, I forgot about that movie. What the hell was that?
And you know what the worst part is? I actually talked to him about that movie, and I can't remember what it was.
Oh, jeez.
Just a name drop, just a humble brag for a second.
I think I'm going to look that up now because I think I remember that movie. I think I may have talked to him too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a very, like, obviously much different plot, but the same type of thing.
What the hell was that movie?
I want to say it's like, I can't remember. And then, of course,
it's Fading Gigolo.
Oh, is it okay? I thought Gigolo was the title. Yeah, so
yeah, because this is the one that Woody Allen had a role in.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like. I mean, honestly, what this sounds like to me is it sounds like American Pie for middle-aged people.
I mean, it's not quite that simple.
Right.
But it's just, you expect more. Mm-hmm. I expect more from John Turturro also, but it does seem like he likes this sort of role where he gets to go around and nail hot women.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. John Turturro is one of the greatest, I wouldn't really call him a character actor, but, non-leading men actors, jobbing actors of the generation, but he's not exactly a pinup model, an A-list
What are you trying to say? You're trying to say John Turturro's ugly?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And if I had the power in Hollywood and I look like John Turturro, I'd probably do the same thing. So good on him.
I mean, look, he wouldn't be the first guy to cast himself as opposite a bunch of hot women, right?
But you already mentioned one, Woody Allen.
Was that?
That's the Woody Allen move. You already mentioned Woody Allen. I mean, that's his move.
It's exactly the Woody Allen move. That's what Woody Allen spent his entire career doing, was casting himself opposite hot women. So, I mean, even late into his career, is casting himself opposite really hot women.
Yeah.
Like women he had no chance with ever. Like he would hook himself up with. And look, I'd probably do the same thing too if I were a director. So I don't blame him for it. It's just I wish if he's going to do it, make a better movie with it.
Yeah, it's just an observation. I wasn't putting any judgment. It's just an observation.
This thing that looks like softcore. It's almost softcore porn. I mean, there's no nudity in it. Well, there's some, very little. There's a little bit. You get some toe joints. But,
surprised Susie Sarandon could keep him under wraps, man.
What's that?
I said, I'm surprised Susie Sarandon could keep him under wraps. She's got some monsters in there.
Yeah, that's true. She does. Definitely.
This is what happens when Travis lets me be all misogynistic and he doesn't roll me back on it. I am saying things like that. But.
Well, this is a movie that, I mean, it deserves it though. Like this is a movie that it's sort of the intention.
Right.
It's for it to be risque. I don't necessarily even know that it is risque because it's just, like I said, it goes there, but it doesn't really do anything clever with any of it,
Right.
So, and it's not funny at all. So it doesn't really do much. It didn't really do much for me.
So that sounds like a pass from you then.
The Jesus Rolls is a definite pass this week.
Yeah.
There were some good movies this week. Bull with Rob Morgan, which he plays a former bull rider, and it's kind of set in the black rodeo community. Really good film that's out there. And I also saw All Day and a Night, which is the film by Joe Robert Cole, the guy who co-wrote Black Panther.
Jeffrey Wright, right?
Yep, Jeffrey Wright and Ashton Sanders, really great duo, and very similar in a lot of ways too. Ashton Sanders is a lot younger, but they had this sort of internal thing going, and and Jeffrey Wright, we haven't seen him play this kind of character in a long time. He plays basically a street thug and a dope head, but he's just really hardcore and street, and he hasn't done that kind of role since really early in his career. It's a solid film. I was talking to my buddy Wilson Morales from Black Film, and we were discussing it, and I was just like, yeah, it's a good movie, but Cole wasn't really stretching himself here. It's kind of your typical urban drama about life on the streets, kind of black men perpetuating the cycle of criminality and violence that always leads to prison. It's that sort of thing. But one thing I did admire about it is that it's really unsparing. It doesn't. I mean, it gives you the bad news right up front. like this ain't gonna be a happy ending. So don't look for one. I appreciate movies that can do that and still hold you.
Well, yeah.
Still hold your attention.
You lost your horror right there. So if you can.
I give it credit for that. It's worth seeing. It's on Netflix.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, I had that mark because Jeffrey Wright. He's been. It's funny you mentioned him early in his career playing a street tough. That's where, and I've said this on pretty much every iteration of shows we've done. It's strangely come up somehow, but I've loved Jeffrey Wright ever since the first Shaft remake that Samuel L. Jackson did, where he played Peebles. Yeah. He was like a neighborhood drug lord, and I didn't see him in anything that I remember for years after that. But I mean, everything from playing Felix Leiter in Bond to Hunger Games, everything he does, he's.
We get to see him in Bond again soon too.
Yep. Yeah, I was so happy when it showed up in the trailer. He was there because he showed up in Casino Royale and then he was kind of ghost. I think he showed up for like a second or two in the other ones, but their chemistry and the way he featured into it, I was like, that's something you should hold on to. But
Jeffrey Wright has chemistry with everybody.
Yeah, Well, he's one of those people that seems like
rare
no matter
actors
what he
in life.
tells you, it could change your life. Like he's got that gravitas to everything he says, where
Yeah.
when he's
He's
telling
a
you,
lot
you want
like
to listen.
he's a lot like how Morgan Freeman is, where everything they say seems important, like no matter what.
Right.
And he's a person who can be. He's always got this sort of patriarchal thing going for him, no matter what he does. Which is why it's interesting to see him in this kind of role again. He still has that though, and that's what makes it, which is what makes it so, I guess, moving in a lot of ways. Is that he's still got that fatherly aspect to him, but his character is out of control.
Right.
Violent and aggressive and on drugs a lot of the time and abusive and but then he has these moments of clarity where he like shows sensitivity to his son, who's played by Ashton Sanders. So it's one of those things where he's kind of pulling you in different directions.
Right. Well, I can imagine that
Ashton Sanders has that too. Ashton Sanders has that ability too. He's a guy, he really broke out from after Moonlight.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he's been playing a lot of these roles where he plays these guys who are kind of broken down by the system, systemic racism and stuff like that. He's taken on a lot of those roles, and this is just another one for him. He's good at this one too. The movie has issues, but it's not those two.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, Netflix has been really, I think streaming is always going to be what?
Spotty.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I think streaming is always going to be spotty, but the quality of someone they're putting out is better than their quality. Before, it used to be like once or twice a year you get something major. And
they're shitting on a lot of stuff though, man. I mean, just this week alone, I think we had 3 or 4 Netflix movies. Because I know we had, I think half of it might be a Netflix movie. I'm not sure. But we also had Dangerous Lies, and it's just like a lot of stuff coming out on Netflix now.
Did you watch that Dangerous Lies?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't bothered to look up, but I will be upfront with you, dear audience. I'm a big Camila Mendes fan. She's I was watching Riverdale with my wife. We watched the first season. It was pretty good, and I'm a fan.
It means she must be hot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't even need to go any further. I already know she's hot as soon as you said you're a fan.
No, well, in this case, it is solely based on that because I've only seen her act as Veronica in Riverdale.
On Riverdale, is she Veronica?
Yep. Yeah, it's Veronica on Riverdale. I mean, you're not going to see somebody's acting chops on Riverdale, really. So, but yeah, and I mean, like with Extraction, the only thing I'm wondering is their release plan. Like, if with COVID and the quarantine, don't you kind of pull all the release valves as quickly as possible for all this? Because they do have a lot of stuff they're sitting on, and I understand that release schedule and you want to peter it out, but don't you want to like kind of push all that stuff to the front line while you have this captive audience that can't go to the movie theater and all that stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you want to put it all out there, but it seems like that's what they're doing. Like they're just dumping a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it's really hit or miss. But then again, Netflix movies are always hit or miss.
Pretty much.
So, and it's interesting because back when Netflix really started getting into movies, and they were bringing them all to Sundance, or they were picking them up at Sundance, and I remember having this conversation probably with you, and I'm sure with my buddy Chris, how Netflix movies early on would come out, and then everybody would just sort of forget them, like they didn't really exist.
Right.
Like really some really good ones too, like I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore with Melanie Linsky, stuff like that would just come out, and then like a week later it would like it vanished.
Yeah, zero shelf life.
And then stuff with really big names like War Machine with Brad Pitt would come out and it would just vanish. And it's like and then but then all of a sudden they started getting all this prestige, and they started making movies like Roma that would break out and get awards and stuff like that. And then movies like The Irishman, and it's like, yeah, but probably about 90% of those movies are still just going down the memory hole.
Oh,
like
a
movie like Dangerous Lies is going down the memory hole.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's you throw it against the wall and see what sticks. But one thing that I meant to talk about last week that we missed when we were talking about Extraction is the globalization that Netflix is doing and how it's getting attention in areas of the world, filmmakers of the world, and actors of the world that haven't been getting it previously. I mean, everybody knows that major movie studios have been coordinating with Chinese studios to get some of the funding and to get better box office in China. That's why you see things like the Transformers movies. There's always a scene that takes place in some part of China. Well, with Extraction, what you see is how that's starting to happen with Netflix in India. India has a huge Netflix fan base. Anybody that has looked at the Netflix queues and the recently trending and all that stuff will notice there's a ton of Bollywood style films that are showing up within the last like 6 months, and now they're starting to do that and branch it out there. So I mean, one of the things about the globalization of Netflix that's really annoying to me is how much freaking cool content. Let me finish. It's not going to be racist or anything.
You didn't see me. You didn't see me. I was playing video games while you were talking.
I saw you. I was planning to ignore it because that's the level of. I give no respect.
I am trying to play WWE 2K20 and it's pissing me off right now.
So. Oh my bad. I thought we were doing a show. Go ahead.
No. I'm not doing anything that active. I'm just
joking. But yeah. So like we'll sit there and look through all the shows, and we're big into like supernatural style shows like Winona Earp. We just started watching things like that, and there are so many cool shows from countries that I'd never seen content from before, like stuff from directly from Brazil and from Chile and all parts of Europe. I'm not talking about just like Italian movies or just movies from India, but like Czechoslovakian TV shows that have these really ultra cool concepts.
Right.
It's only annoying because you have to really. I have no problem with a subtitled show or movie, but I tend to like want to lay down and do 2 or 3 other things while I'm watching a movie at home, and you can't do that with subtitles. But I mean, it's a really cool effect of kind of making the world of filmmaking even smaller, where Hollywood is becoming less and less important to the whole thing in terms of people coming from there and filmmakers coming from there and all that. But yeah, I don't know how I went down that political rabbit hole, but I saw Wretched.
Okay.
Yeah. So we talked about that at the beginning. I didn't have a segue, so I did what I could. IFC Midnight released a movie called The Wretched this week. The Pierce brothers. At least I hope I'm remembering that correctly. It's a very, very standard plot. This kid is spending the summer with his dad. His parents are getting divorced, and there's neighbors living right next door, and the kid's just started working at the marina. Regular 14, 15-year-old. No, he's 16-year-old kid. And then you find out that there's a witch in the woods, and weird shit starts happening. And
sorry, my entire shelf. No, not my shelf, but I have like a stack of pops over here that need to be put away, and they like a bunch of them just toppled over.
Yeah, that's how interesting my stuff is. I'm knocking things over at his house while I'm telling this.
I was trying to move the child.
Release it. I know they were planning on it, but I didn't know what the. Anyway,
they got a new wave of them coming out.
It's a really, I talked earlier about IFC Midnight and knowing how to use scares. It's the 17 and above, you're fair game to be killed. 16 below, 16 to 13, probably not. Below that, you won't get killed. And they fall right in the middle, so it gives it this real instability of you don't know what's going to happen to this kid. You don't know if he'll make it through, if his friends are safe. And there's a whole Amblin feel to the whole thing as well. In a J-horror movie, if you watch the trailer for The Wretched, which you can check out at punchdrunkcritics.com, you'll see like a tree with these witch hands coming out of it, and there's a scene where there's a dead deer and witch hands are coming out of it, and it's repetitive and it's standard and it's done so perfectly that it is creepy as all hell. I was actually really surprised by how good this movie was. Again, it's not anything groundbreaking, but it's proof positive that if you know what you're doing, you don't need an original idea. If you put care into it, you can take an idea that's been done to death. You can take the least scary of any monster. Anybody thinks of witches, they don't think of Blair Witch, they think of Hocus Pocus witches. You can take something like that, it's totally not scary, put some care and time into it, do it the right way, and you come off with something that's pretty damn special on its own. So that's available on VOD as of last Friday, so you can check that out as well.
Nice.
And some big show coming out. I know you said you hadn't seen it yet, but this story blew my mind, and I didn't realize that the show was going to be not based on it, but it included elements of it, is Ryan Murphy's Hollywood. It just hit Netflix this past Friday. About the, I've only seen it.
Ryan Murphy puts out too many goddamn shows.
Yeah, well, you know, when they're going to pay you that much. And
I just finished watching The Politician not that long ago.
Oh, yeah.
And already is another one. And he's got like another season of American Horror Story and I think another season of American Crime Story. Like,
yeah, I'm still behind by 2 seasons of American Horror Story, but Hollywood, man, it's gorgeous, but it's about post-war Hollywood. You know, all these people coming back from the war trying to make it big, but that's not what surprised me. I love all that stuff, but what surprised me was our main character. You know the whole story about Scotty Bowers. I don't know if you ever read that book called Full Service.
I know.
Yeah, that takes front and center stage. Basically, and now I've done some legitimacy checks, and it seems like a lot of people accept what he's saying. I mean, are you on board with Scotty Bowers telling the truth, or do you think some of it's made up, or all of it?
You mean about him sort of being like a
gigolo to the stars? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that part of it. I don't know if I believe every single story he's told.
Right. So, for anybody that doesn't know, Scotty Bowers,
but I'm not an expert on Scotty Bowers either. So I can't say with any kind of certainty about any of it.
No, yeah, we're not testifying against Congress. I'm just curious if I was naive for thinking it was true.
I mean, I know the story about as much as anybody who's heard of him, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah. So for anybody out there that doesn't know, he was a guy that came to Hollywood right after the war, and he started working at this gas station. And I don't remember how it happened, but sooner or later, the gas station basically became a brothel. Like, people would pull up to get gas, and he had a bunch of good-looking guys working there, and people would pull up and take a guy. You know, guys would pull up and take guys, girls would pull up and take guys, and when that came into the show Hollywood, I was like, wow, they're really going here with this, because there were some crazy stories out of that book. Who knows how much are true, but given how strict everything was in Hollywood, the crazy stuff that they did, that the studios did with fixers and all kinds of stuff in Hollywood back then, it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm totally interested to see where the rest of that show goes. Plus, Samara Weaving is a great actress. She is a good actress, though, seriously. She was awesome in The Babysitter, Bruce, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. She's actually a great actress.
I can't believe those are the 2 things you mentioned for Samara Weaving.
I kind of blanked, but I forgot Ready or Not. Obviously, that's probably what most people would know her from now. What else is there? The Babysitter was awesome, so I'm good with that.
I mean, she just did Guns Akimbo with Dana Radcliffe.
That's right. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
I need to see that. I've seen it on my VOD, but I can't pull the trigger. Pun intended.
It's not that great. Did you see that? Did you see that video that Zoe Bell and all those other actors put together?
No, I saw you put something up, and I meant to go back and watch it, but I know you love Zoe Bell.
I gotta thank for Zoe Bell, and I'm still embarrassed by the one time I met her. But
can you tell that story again? We did it before on here, but I'd like to hear
No, I'm not telling that story again. I'm not telling that story again.
Right.
No.
We'll have that for our Patreon members. We'll have a special event show where you can see tell the story.
So much fun. It's such a fun video. It's Zoe Bell, Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh. I mean, Jesus, Zoe Saldana, Lucy Lawless. It's like everybody. Daryl Hannah's in it too. It's just all these women, badass women, female stunt women too. Tracy Thoms is in there. I love Tracy Thoms. Rosario Dawson's in it. I mean, it's just them throwing punches at each other, and they all connect. And they're like hitting each other. But they're all in different places. They're all in their homes. It's freaking fantastic. They did a version of it on AEW Wrestling this week, and that was the first place I had seen anything like that. I don't know which one did it first. I'm probably going to guess that Zoe Bell and her crew did it first.
You're not going to like the answer to that question.
Huh?
You're not going to like the answer to that question, because unless they shot that video a while ago, at the very beginning of the quarantine, videos just like that started popping up. My niece did one for her soccer team.
Then again, that's true. I have seen people on TikTok doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not nearly as much fun or as creative as this.
if you have the
So,
A game in it. So
yeah, that's true. I have seen people doing it on TikTok, but I also hate TikTok, so I don't like looking at that stuff or giving anybody credit for it.
yeah, that's old man zone for me. I
TikTok,
haven't even looked up what TikTok is. I'm guessing it's like Vine, but I'm not getting into it.
basically, TikTok is just people dancing to music for a few seconds. It's just awful. I can't stand it.
The things you can make $1 million with these days.
Yeah, it's stupid. Irrfan Khan died this week, man. I'm sad.
Yeah.
I was really broken up about that, actually, the day that happened.
Yeah, he's an amazing actor.
The news came out really late into the night when most people were asleep, and of course I was awake because I'm a night owl. So I had written my thing for Punch Drunk Critics for it that night, but I was really broken up by it. And both me and Rocky were, because me and Rocky are like huge Irrfan Khan fans. And we were both talking about that time I met him at Sundance, and I had put this in my blog post about it, the story about when I had met him, and it was back in 2014 because it was for the Lunchbox.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Great movie, and I was talking to him then. I was embarrassed because I had my Scott Pilgrim versus the World T-shirt on. And I was there to talk to like arguably my favorite actor in the world at that time. I'm wearing Scott Pilgrim tee. But he was completely cool. And after the interview, I had asked him, I was like, hey, man, my friend Rocky is a huge fan of yours, even bigger than me. It's like, let's freak her out. Could you just give her a phone call?
Oh, and he did?
Fuck yeah, man. He did it. Like, he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he called her, and I remember she was at work, and he called her and said hi. She's like, hello, and he's like, this is Irrfan Khan, and the scream from the other end of the phone was just,
God.
And she was just in tears talking to him, and they had this great conversation. She looks at him like a father figure, like, you know, roles he's played, and of course the heritage and stuff like that. So, but it was just an amazing moment. It's my favorite moment from Sundance. And he was just the coolest person, super nice, really humble and gracious. And I loved everything he was in. I loved him, and he's probably the nicest person I ever interviewed. And so having him pass away, he's 53 years old, man.
Yeah, it's way too young.
It's about the same age my dad was. And my dad was 53, 54 years old when he passed away.
No.
It was really sad, really broken up about it that night.
I mean, I happen to, I have a buddy of mine lives in India. He's Indian, lives over there, Sam Khalik, and I happened to talk to him the day that after this happened, and he's like a national treasure over there. I mean, people are broken from it, and you know, and you could even hear like they had been fighting his cancer with him the whole time. You know, that like, you know, you could really hear it in the accounts of him. That just goes to speak about what type of person he is. I mean, if you cannot meet people and have that kind of effect on them, and let's just point out the story you just told. I mean, it seems like a small thing, but you don't get that happening very often, where people take a minute out, even a minute, and they're busy and all this other stuff, but to take a minute out and call somebody just because to make their day. I mean, it sounds like the simplest thing in the world, but it doesn't happen, you know.
Yeah, no, it's true. It was just a phenomenal moment. I don't know if I'll ever have another moment quite like that with another actor. You know, it's not the kind of thing you just up and ask somebody, hey, can you call my friend?
Yeah.
You know, one of those things. And then much less to have them be willing to do it so eagerly. But yeah, it was
2020.
fantastic.
Yay.
Yeah, then again, we'll probably never meet any more celebs again anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And even if we did, they wouldn't let us within 6 feet of them. So
yeah, no more selfies, no more.
There's not gonna be any more of those. It's not gonna be, hey, can I get a photo after the interview? Nope, you sure can't.
Yeah.
You sure can't.
It didn't really occur to me until you just said that, but you're 100% on point.
Yeah.
Hey, give me 1 second. I gotta go check something. I'll be right back. I hear my kids making some ruckus. So you take the next thing. I'll be right back.
It looks super weird with you getting up out of the background. It looks really strange. I don't know. What do you want me to talk about now as you're gone? I pretty much talked about all the reviews I saw for this week. Although we do got a bunch of them up at Sundance. punchdrunkcritics.com right now. Like I said, Jesus Rolls, Bull. You got a review of The Flood with Lena Headey. That's supposed to be fantastic. All Day and the Night. Got that review. Tammy's Always Dying with Felicity Huffman, and she's getting great reviews for. I did not see it myself personally. And The Half of It, which is also out, I believe, on Netflix. Got a review of that up as well. And there's more than that because The Wretched is up that John is talking about. Khalil did a review of Soul City, a TV series. What did you do?
The fun of live streaming with kids in the house. Put my kids down to take a nap. I'm out of breath, ran up downstairs before we started, and my son's been having like night terrors very rarely, but he'll wake up screaming.
Yeah.
You know, Murphy's Law. He just had a little issue, but we're good now.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on this week too, man, because the most prevalent news story that we get every day now is what movie got moved.
Right.
What movie got moved where? So Paramount is doing a whole bunch of crap right now. And Paramount's basically trying to revive everything, Transformers and G.I. Joe. Which, I mean, the last G.I. Joe
never
movie
really stopped getting made, right?
Huh?
G.I. Joe never really stopped getting made. I mean, that Snake Eyes movie's been in production for a while.
Yeah, but there hasn't been a G.I. Joe movie since 2013.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it has been that long, huh?
Yeah, G.I. Joe Retaliation was 2013. Snake Eyes comes out this October.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still the first G.I. Joe movie in 7 years.
Yeah.
So, and they're using that. That's the one with Henry Golding, which I mean, I like that decision, except you're going to have to take the mask off. You can't have Henry Golding there and be Snake Eyes, who never takes his mask off. Can't have that. So he's going to take the mask off, which is automatically going to make him not like Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
so I'm already against it, and I ain't seen a single frame of it.
Poor Ray Park, man. That guy's Ray Park is screwed one of the best physical like action actors out there, and he plays all these super cool roles, but as soon as you see his face, like his most visual role other than I guess Darth Maul would be like Toad from X-Men,
which he helped out with that Clone Wars battle, by the way.
He did.
Yes.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that in a few minutes as well, I suppose, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're definitely going to get around to it, but so what Paramount is doing is they set up a new G.I. Joe film that's going to be coming out. So they're reviving G.I. Joe and Transformers. So G.I. Joe has a movie coming out. It's going to be a follow-up to Snake Eyes. So it's going to follow along now. Snake Eyes is sort of like a soft reboot of the entire franchise.
Right.
So this new G.I. Joe movie is going to come after that. And they've got that set up for, they give that a date for it? They didn't give it a date for it. Nah. But it's written by the duo that wrote Seabird, which is that Kristen Stewart movie where she plays Jean Seabird, which is he's the best thing about it because Kristen Stewart's always the best thing about everything she's in.
Right. You get on me when I say things like that, but
I legitimately like. I don't think Kristen Stewart's hot. Like I think she's a good actress. Like
that
I don't.
Smile just said something different.
What?
I mean, she's gorgeous, but I'm just busting your balls. Go ahead.
She's attractive. She is attractive.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talked about Charlie's Angels, she was number 2. Like she is not.
Well, that's because she was next to Naomi Scott. I mean.
True. A lot of people are going to be number 2 next to Naomi Scott. But Kristen Stewart is not somebody that I look at and I'm like, she's so hot, I'm going to like everything she's in.
Right.
No, it's not that. She I actually think she's a good actress, and she gets bad. She still gets, hammered for Twilight, which is like 20 years ago. I don't want to hear about that shit anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, she has nothing to do with this yet. But yeah, so new G.I. Joe movie. They don't know anything about it except it's coming up after Snake Eyes. But it sounds like they're trying to use Snake Eyes as the backdoor to a new G.I. Joe movie, which, I mean, I like Retaliation.
Yeah.
I didn't like the first one, The Rise of Cobra. I thought was pretty bad.
No, it wasn't until Retaliation they knew what they were playing with. They knew what the toys in their chest were. I mean, Retaliation was to me, Retaliation was a lot like Punisher Warzone. Like it was very faithful to the source material. But the first GI Joe was I don't know what they were trying to do.
Remember who directed Retaliation?
John Chu, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was John Chu. That was why it was better, because Steven Sommers did the first one.
Right, but they let him do everything, and there's still
Steven Sommers hasn't done anything good since the first couple of Mummy movies.
Wow, yeah, you're right. But I mean, if you take GI Joe, you've got, you look at the Marvel universe. I know this is not a comparison really, but one of the big draws for Marvel and DC is this ridiculously deep, trove of characters you have. And GI Joe was like the A1 best at coming up with all these different, I don't want to say rich, but fleshed out characters to sell all the action figures to, and they had one of the best, they're one of the best villains in anything like it. With Cobra Commander, you can have Serpentor and all the other people if you want, but even just the imagery. I mean, in Retaliation, when they dropped those Cobra banners down off the White House, and you see Cobra Commander coming in on the big ass fan jet standing up there.
Right.
I mean, it's something that could be so freaking cool if they just do it right. And that's why I was really surprised at Retaliation. They didn't try to take another stab right after that. But
I mean, it didn't make enough money. It made like 360 million worldwide.
Yeah.
I think it did slightly better than the first movie did, but it should have done better, because remember, that was during the height of franchise Viagra Dwayne Johnson.
Right.
And it was like the one movie that it did better, but it didn't do like massively better.
Right.
Yeah,
but then they shot themselves. They killed
Bruce
Duke
Willis
in the first
to it.
10 minutes.
Remember, Bruce Willis was in it also. And they added a lot of big stars to it, and it just it did fine, but just not enough to warrant to another one. It's not as if they didn't talk about it either. I mean, Lord knows I wrote enough stories talking about G.I. Joe 3 that never happened.
Right.
So I mean, it's not as if they didn't think about it, but it's just I don't think it ever seemed financially viable. I still don't know. They're gonna have to come up with some sort of. I think they're making a mistake. Let me just go from that angle. I think they're making a mistake by doing this as clearly trying to build a cinematic universe.
Yeah, you would hope that thought would have left a lot of people by now. But
that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Everybody. It seems like everybody is still trying to build cinematic universes, and it's just the wrong idea. Marvel managed to do it, and that's literally no one else has been able to do it.
Yeah.
Not successfully. No one has been able to do it. Not Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers took this backdoor route too, trying to backdoor their way into a cinematic universe, and it didn't work. And now Paramount's trying to do the same thing, and they're doing it with Transformers also, because Bumblebee is leading into a cinematic universe that's going to be a new Transformers film coming out in 2022. That's the other story. We don't know what it's going to be about, though. It's going to be one of those two movies, though, that we learned about a few months ago. Like, one is the quote possible Beast Wars movie by James Vanderbilt, and then the other one is I believe a prequel of some kind. No. The other one is the one that's a follow-up to Bumblebee, but it's not like a Bumblebee sequel.
Right.
Just one in the same universe. The prequel is the animated prequel that they're doing with Josh Cooley, the guy who did Toy Story 4. But that's not set in that same universe. It's totally separate. So a lot of stuff going on with Hasbro's two biggest franchises. And honestly, I'm not that excited about either one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm curious about the animated prequel just because I love the cartoon so much, but it's going to depend on the approach.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen Beast Wars. Transformers was never really my thing, but so
hated Beast Wars.
Oh, okay. So there was a compelling story to tell. It's just I feel like
don't take me as indicative of what others thought, because a lot of people love Beast Wars. And certainly, if you watch the show, it looked cool as hell. I mean, it had the CG graphics. It was definitely different.
Right.
But it just wasn't for me because I've always been a G1 guy. So, you know, I never liked all the spin-off things for Transformers. None of them ever worked for me. So, I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting excited about either one of these things. And I feel like there's going to come a point where eventually they're like, let's do just Transformers versus G.I. Joe, like they did in the comic books. And I'm going to be like,
well, I mean, they're basically almost there, aren't they? I mean, every single one has. I mean, if you take out Josh Duhamel, you put in Channing Tatum as Duke, and you got, you know, you just call Tyrese Roadblock, and you got the start of it right there. But you know, I'm just like you said, I'm not interested in it all anymore. I mean, Bumblebee was great. I liked it.
yeah,
I have a good time with the Transformers movies, but I'm not interested in going back at all. Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe is another story. I think if they do it right and they embrace the cheesiness, the propaganda. I mean, a good G.I. Joe movie should be shot like a propaganda movie, especially when you're showing the Cobra side of things. It should be flags and banners waving everywhere. It should be really lean into that cheesy 80s Reaganomic patriotism.
The propaganda should be equal on both sides. G.I. Joe was as much propaganda as Cobra was.
You sound like a Cobra sympathizer.
No, I sound like somebody who recognizes that both used propaganda.
I know. But what I'm saying is, Cobra was always, you know, you can politicize anything, can't you?
No, that's not politicization of anything. They both used propaganda. You just said flag waving and banners. G.I. Joe waved more flags and banners than anybody.
Well, right, but right after that, I said it should really lean into that '80s hyper patriotic, cheesy Reagan style politics.
That was all propaganda.
I know, and that's what I was saying.
Yes, I mean, so it should be both. If they want to show both sides doing it and making something of it, that would be fun. That would be great. I'd love for it to be done Starship Troopers style. Like I think that would be a great way to do a G.I. Joe, and it'd be different.
No,
I don't want to see a straight up
more than surface level. I mean, just by making it surface level look like that, even if you wanted to do it almost dead serious, if it looks like that, if you embrace the colorful nature of the characters, you embrace these crazy backstories and the weird stuff that can happen, you know, when putting these people together, and you embrace the far out tech without making it your own. I mean, the tech in G.I. Joe is awesome. They found the coolest vehicles to put in certain places, but it was already cool enough. That's what happened with the first G.I. Joe movie, is they took something really cool and they're like, wouldn't G.I. Joes have like exosuits and have
they're gonna have to do something like, I mean, they're gonna have to play up the satirical aspects of it. They're gonna have to, because I don't think anybody's interested in seeing you know, toys representing soldiers on the battlefield, basically. I don't think anybody's
12-year-olds and me are, pretty much.
Yeah, but I think there's too much that's gone on. I don't think anybody's interested in it. And I think that's one of the things, honestly, that hurt the first two movies. G.I. Joe is really, really tough. Like I can understand why it worked in the 80s as a cartoon and why it doesn't work live action with real people, with real bullets, and real, and what should be, and what it was in those movies, real casualties. Remember, Channing Tatum's character dies in the second one.
Yeah, and then the cartoon was all red and blue lasers.
I mean, already it's already too serious to represent the cartoons and the comics that we liked.
Yeah. Well, everybody remembers that opening animatic where like there's a jet flying in and then boom, it gets blown up and there's a huge mushroom ball explosion, and then after the explosion, there comes a guy in a parachute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in G.I. Joe, the cartoon, nobody ever got shot. Or they would get shot in the hands and they would drop their guns.
Right.
That's what happened all the time. That's why when Duke took that Serpentor snake to the chest, it was so mind blowing.
Right.
G.I. Joe the movie. It was so it shook us all as kids because we were like, we haven't seen blood on this joint like ever.
Yeah.
And like no one's ever been hurt like this ever on this show. It was like, wow, this is real stakes. You know,
we are super into G.I. Joe, but it is we are nearing the hour mark, so we got to wrap it up before all these meetings and things that I have set up shut down. So,
How much time do we have?
we have about 3 minutes.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So
we wanted to talk about Clone Wars, but maybe we can do a midweek episode. Tomorrow is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you all. Disney Plus is airing 2 things tomorrow for Star Wars fans. You have the finale of Clone Wars, and you have the Mandalorian behind the scenes show that they're doing. I know we both really want to talk about Clone Wars, but maybe we do that after the finale. We can wrap everything up. Main thing I wanted to press upon for it was how awesome that scene was, of how awesome it looked. That scene of Ahsoka in the middle of that control room with clones all around her, just, and smoke rising up. Oh, it was amazing.
Her versus Darth Maul. Great stuff.
Yeah, amazing.
Great stuff, man. They really need to package up these final 4 or 5 episodes with Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 4 episodes, whatever. They need to package them up into a single movie.
Isn't that the idea? That's why I thought that's like why they changed the opening credits and stuff like that.
I don't know if it is. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
because it's already better than the Rise of Skywalker. I mean,
that's what hurts about this stuff is that I will still tell anybody that asks me that I thoroughly enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. In the theater, I was fist pumping. I felt good leaving the theater.
I still don't.
There's been a lot of things to compare it to since, and I'll watch it and I'll still enjoy it, but it is not the great movie that I thought it was originally. I mean, things like reading Colin Trevorrow's script, seeing the Clone Wars now, seeing this other, it's less that Rise of Skywalker in my mind wasn't good. It's more of what it could have been that it wasn't, and you see that here. But
all you need to think about is how much the Colin Trevorrow version would have enhanced everything around it if they had stuck with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and that the Rise of Skywalker doesn't do any of that. I can understand enjoying it as an entertaining movie because I enjoy it as an entertaining movie, but that's it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It shouldn't just be that. It's the finale of the most epic saga ever. It should be more than that, and it wasn't. That's like my final.
Well, I'll tell you what. Look at it this way. Look at it as the epilogue, and Last Jedi was the final one. There you go. Snoke died, and that was the end of it, and we're all good. But we're about to get cut off here, so we're going to check in with you guys. But you need to follow us, follow the Punch Drunk Critics and Cinema Royale. www.spreaker.com/show/cinema-royale_1. Travis is twitter.com/punchycritic. I am at punchdrunkjohn. You can follow the whole site at PDC Movies. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/punchdrunkcritics and facebook.com/cinema royale show. And wherever that button is for subscribe, go ahead and you can say you were one of the first ones to subscribe. So make sure that happens as well.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Later.